What's up guys, it's Chris Majestic and it's time to check out the highly anticipated LG CineBeam HU810P. So today we're checking out a new projector from LG known as the CineBeam HU810P. So this is a dual laser 4K home theater projector that retails for $3,000. So in the box you get your documentation, a power cord, some edge guards to protect the corners of the projector since it's so sharp, LG's popular Magic remote, batteries for the remote, and of course the projector itself. Now looking at the pictures of this projector, I was expecting it to be pretty small, but I was surprised to see this thing is actually pretty big. Overall, I do like the look of it, even though I do wish it was black. Now to be fair, there is another variant of this projector called the AU810P, which retails for $4,000, comes in black, and has a few extra features. The extra features include a WiSA dongle for wireless audio, a 2-year warranty instead of 1 year, IP control, RS-232, a 12-volt trigger, and Calman color calibration software. So if you've got the extra coin and you really want it in black, you can step up to that model. So this isn't LG's first attempt at a more traditional home theater projector, but it is the first one that fits the form factor and features that I think most people are looking for. So this projector has a very square design that's a little different from other manufacturers out there, but I personally like it. It's nice and clean with no buttons or dials on top. The front has the lens and an IR sensor, and hiding underneath the lens are the zoom and focus dials. On the right side, you'll see the lens shift dial since the projector has both horizontal and vertical lens shift. The bottom has adjustable legs as well as mounting holes for a ceiling mount. And of course you have all of your ports on the back, which includes one HDMI 2.1 port, two HDMI 2.0B ports, two USB ports that can be used for media or keyboard and mouse, an optical audio output, Ethernet jack, and a control knob that appears to be the same one that was hidden on the bottom of the HU85LA. So LG was able to fit quite a bit of features into this projector. The key features include a dual laser light source giving you up to 20,000 hours of lamp life, 4K resolution using pixel shifting with the 0.47-inch Texas Instruments DLP chip, 2700 lumens, great color accuracy covering 97% of DCI-P3, 60% vertical and 20% horizontal lens shift, mechanical iris, HDR10 HLG and HGiG support, eARC for uncompressed audio, ALLM as well as HDCP 2.3 thanks to the HDMI 2.1 port, HDMI CEC, which I always say should be on every projector, and of course LG's WebOS. Now unfortunately it doesn't have 3D for you 3D guys out there, but it is still bringing quite a bit to the table. So setting up projectors to review in my home theater is sort of challenging because of the room layout, but thanks to the both vertical and horizontal lens shift, I was able to sit the projector on the second row off center behind me, and I could still sit in the front row of my home theater without blocking the image. Not only does it boot up in just a few seconds thanks to the laser light source, but this thing has fantastic image quality and I was able to get pretty good uniformity across the screen. I was able to fill my 135-inch screen from about 13 feet away, and you can fill a 100-inch screen from about 9.5 feet away. So coming from the Epson 5050UB that I use on a daily basis, the very first thing I noticed about the image from this projector was how bright and sharp it is. In standard mode, the brightness is right up there with the Epson, which was a complete surprise. Of course, the most color accurate mode is cinema mode, but it was a bit too dark for my liking. Now with the default settings, the image does have a slightly blue hue to it, but thankfully LG gives you a ton of white balance and color control settings for you to get it to your liking. The three modes that I used most often was standard mode for TV and other SDR content, game mode for gaming, and cinema home mode for HDR content. It even has a filmmaker mode that optimizes all of the settings for a viewing experience closest to what the movie director expects you to see. Alright, so what about black levels? Well, bright laser DLP projectors don't typically have the best black levels, but the HU810P has adaptive contrast and a mechanical iris which allows it to produce good black levels. The thing to keep in mind is that this particular projector is made to work well in both a bright room or a dark room, so you have to adjust the settings to your room. Now what I found is that the black levels do suffer a bit in the brightest modes. Now this isn't a problem in a bright room, but more noticeable in a dark room, especially with letterbox bars. Now that being said, you can get some really good black levels once you adjust the iris to the darker settings. The three most useful settings in this projector are iris mode, adaptive contrast, and black level. So I suggest starting off with cinema or standard modes and then adjusting those three settings until the image suits your taste. Now the place where this projector really blew me away was with HDR content. The colors look fantastic and the dynamic tone mapping does a great job with maintaining detail in bright areas as well as shadow detail. I was surprised that some content actually looked better than the Epson 5050UB, which is not an easy task. So of course I had to do some gaming on this thing. So games look amazing on this projector thanks to the brightness, sharpness, and auto low latency mode. The input lag for 4K content in game mode with ALLM engaged was around 48 milliseconds and around 52 milliseconds with 1080p. Now I play a lot of first person shooters, so I prefer less than 30 milliseconds, but 48 milliseconds was certainly bearable and faster than most 4K pixel shifting projectors that have high color accuracy. Now I know some people might be thinking that since this projector has an HDMI 2.1 port that it supports 4K at 120 frames per second. Well, it doesn't support 4K at 120, but according to the manual, it does support 1440 at 120 frames per second from a PC. Now when I tried to test this out on my laptop, I wasn't able to get it to work. Now I don't know if it's necessarily my graphics card or if it's the HDMI cable or what. I was able to get it to do 1080 at 120, but I was not able to get it to do 1440 at 120 Hertz. Alright, so what about the rainbow effect? Well, as you know, this is something that affects some people, especially with brighter projectors, but I personally didn't notice any rainbows. Again, this is something that varies from person to person, so it's something you'll have to see for yourself. Alright, so now on to LG's WebOS. Now I won't spend too much time on this since I've talked about it in previous LG projector videos, but I personally think that WebOS is hands down the best native operating system I've seen on a projector. It just makes the projector feel more like a smart TV. You get a ton of native apps and the layout is easy to navigate and use. You even get Apple AirPlay, Miracast, and Bluetooth support. And on top of all of that, you get LG's Magic Remote, which is hands down the best remote I've seen come with a projector. Alright, so what about projector noise? Well, you might remember from my review of the LG HU85LA that I mentioned a really high-pitched whine from the laser system on that projector. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that I didn't encounter that with the HU810P. As a matter of fact, this projector is pretty quiet compared to other bright projectors, so I have no complaints here. And speaking of noise, this projector does have dual 5-watt internal speakers, and I don't normally say much about internal speakers, but I do have to say that these speakers get pretty loud. Okay, so clearly this is a great projector, but how does it stack up against similarly priced projectors? Well, the two projectors that are priced about the same are the Epson 5050UB and the BenQ HT5550. So the 5050UB is a great projector at the $3,000 price point with very high brightness, great color accuracy, low input lag, and insane black levels. Believe it or not, the LG has a few benefits over the Epson. First, it has a laser light source, so it powers on pretty much instantaneously and you won't have to replace a bulb after 3,000 or 4,000 hours. And in standard mode, the LG is just as bright as the Epson, which was pretty surprising. The LG also has WebOS, which is probably the best native operating system I've seen on a projector. And the biggest benefit the LG has is that it's a 4K projector. Now this may not seem like a big deal, but the clarity was the very first thing I noticed over the Epson. Alright, so how about the BenQ HT5550? Well, the only real benefits the BenQ has are that it has slightly better color accuracy and that it supports 3D. The LG is almost twice as bright as the BenQ and has all of the other benefits that I mentioned earlier, including a laser light source and WebOS, but it also has much better HDR performance. The HDR from the HT5550 looks good, but it lacks range and looks more like SDR. Another benefit the LG has over the BenQ is input lag. Now to be fair, the BenQ isn't really marketed as a gaming projector, but I measured the input lag over 100 milliseconds compared to 48 milliseconds from the LG, so it is worth mentioning. So overall, I think the LG HU810P is a great projector. It's nice to see a more traditional projector from LG to fill out the rest of their lineup. So they now have the HU85LA Ultra Short Throw, the HU70LA Standard LED projector, and now the HU810P laser projector. I was really blown away by the brightness and HDR performance from this thing. Not only is it nice to see them include so many features, but it's nice to see the $3,000 price point making it more accessible to the average consumer. I know it's still really early in the year, but I have to wonder if the HU810P will be the best 4K projector of 2021. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, as always, go ahead and make sure you mash that like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification and hit all so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next video.